Welcome to Beyond the Fear podcast, where you come to get some motivation, get some uplifting, get some inspiration, and we just talk about what lies beyond that comfort zone and beyond your fear of what's next or what's new. Um, Today's episode is going to be about something that I'm very familiar with, and that's not giving up, or the importance of not giving up and finishing what you start. Now, as someone who has done a terrible job of not giving up, meaning I've been the type to give up when times got hard. You know, going you can go back to high school, my senior year. Just didn't want to be there anymore. It's not that it was too hard or too complex or anything that I just didn't want to do it anymore for whatever reason. I'll never forget the day that I decided to get my GED. I was in, I want to say, English class, and this is when the very first iPhone was out. I had the very first iPhone, and I remember you had the little button on the side to put it on vibrate, and somebody was calling me. I don't know who. I want to say it was my homeboy Chris, my homeboy Nusi. Somebody was calling me, and the teacher heard the vibration, heard the phone vibrating, and she told me to go. She wrote me up and told me to go to the office so they can confiscate my phone. And in that moment, I just was like, you know what, I'm through. I'm through with this. And took the phone, took the write up, tore it up, went to my car, and I just left. And I was just like, you know what, I'm through with. I'm through with school. And my mom ended up finding out that I was like missing school, and she was like, well, at least you at least going to get your GED. So I went and did that, and man, so that was like just one, at least off the top of my head, one clear example of a time when things got tough, and I just decided, you know what, it's not worth continuing. And obviously that continued on into college. Same thing. Some jobs, same thing. When times got hard, I decided to say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And man, what I can say from experience is giving up and quitting on yourself and on people is very contagious. Very addictive, I should say. And it's the easiest thing to do when things get hard. You know what? I give up. I quit. I don't want to do it anymore. But man, it's scary, right? Because just looking back on things now, it's like, wow, like I messed up a lot of opportunities, a lot of situations that could have gone in my favor. Who knows where I would be right now if I hadn't given up on certain things or certain people, certain situations. But I also got to be thankful that, it didn't cost me my life. It didn't cost me my freedom. So I can be thankful for those things. So, like I said in the last episode, you definitely got to find the bright spots in every single situation that you go through. So, yes, I did give up on. I did give up on myself and give up on a lot of goals and a lot of dreams and a lot of aspirations that I had that could have put me in better situations than I'm in right now. But I also have to be thankful for the fact that luckily it hasn't cost me my life or my freedom. Um, but yeah, so like I was saying, it's very addictive because then it becomes the easiest thing to do. It becomes your default setting. It's just to give up when your manager's talking to you crazy or coworkers talking to you crazy. You automatically think, okay, nah, I'm not dealing with this. But it makes life so much harder because there are things worth fighting for. There are things that you should fight for. There are things that a simple conversation could change so many things. But when you automatically teach yourself, okay, just quit and something better will come along, or just something else will come along, whether it's better or not, something else will come along. And, you know, I'm at that point in life where I gave up and quit so much that it's like, okay, opportunities aren't coming around. So now it's making me have to face my tough decisions. It's making me face the consequences of my actions, and you know, and so I'm just here to tell people, stop giving up on yourself and stop giving up on your dreams, because man, the things that you want, the things that are worth having require work. And that's something that I'm realizing now, whether it's a relationship, marriage, dream career, college, whatever the case, whatever it is that you're trying to do, it's going to require work. It's going to require hard work. It's going to require dedication. It's going to require you giving 100% when you honestly feel like you don't have 100% to give, or you just may not have 100% to give, but you got to find it. You may have 80 and you got to find a way to get that extra 20, whatever the case may be. But quit giving up on yourself, because there's nothing waiting for you on the other side of giving up, right? I'm speaking from experience. I'm not speaking to you talking about some stuff that I read or giving you a little catchy quote. I'm giving you stuff that I know I've given up on myself and on the things that I wanted to do enough times in life to know that there's nothing there on the other side of giving up. So just get through those tough times. And I know it sounds easy to do from the outside, because I'm not going through what you're going through. But what I'm saying is, I've gone through my fair share of tough times, hard situations, things that felt impossible to get through. And almost every single time I've chosen to give up. Maybe not the first time going through the hard times, but as soon as I meet that second or third struggle, it's like, okay, this isn't worth it. But I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. It is worth it if you care about it enough. If this is something that you really want, something that you really believe in, something that you really want to go after, then it's worth it. You just have to find a way to get that inner strength to muscle your way through it. And it ain't always going to be pretty, and it doesn't have to be pretty. We aren't perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just got to find a way to make it through, taking it day by day. And I feel like too many times we're looking at the finish line. We're trying to find that finished product, as opposed to just focusing on where we are in our race, in the moment. Like, yeah, we may not be anywhere near the finish line, but you're further than you was yesterday. You're further than you was when you started on this journey. So sometimes we have to focus on our position and where we are, as opposed to focusing on the finish line, because when we focus too much on the finish line, then that's when that doubt starts to creep in. Okay, the finish line is too far away. I got too much of a journey. There's too many roadblocks. You know what I'm saying? And the more doubt that sets in, the harder it is to overcome. You might be able to overcome one thing, but once you start thinking, one thing turns into two turns into four, and so on and so forth. So sometimes, or maybe even just all the time, stop focusing on the finish line and just focus on running the race. Focus on the race. Focus on where you are right now. And I think that those are the things that hurt me. I got too caught up in, I'm not there yet, or why am I not there, or I just put in all of this work and I still have so much more to go, instead of being like, man, I just put in all this work and I'm so much further than where I was. Another example of that would be welding. You know, did this free program for welding, and when I first got there, man, I just couldn't get it. Couldn't spark it right, couldn't get started right. My beads weren't coming out the way they needed to come out. I was getting so much slag in it, and I couldn't figure it out. So, I mean, I'm on YouTube looking at videos, trying to figure out how to trail, how to make good beads, solid beads, make good contact, how to layer my beads 50% on top of the other. Just, you know, just all types of things that I'm trying to figure out. And yeah, the videos were helping, but nothing beats experience. Nothing beats getting in there and doing it yourself. So, I didn't give up. I did get frustrated. And there were days that I didn't want to go in, or there were days when I would go in and I'm just kind of half-assing it, just being honest. But I didn't completely give up. And then I just started to get it, right? It just takes time. And that's the thing. I feel like for me, I expect to get it within a day or two or a week or two. And when I don't get it, because I put those unrealistic expectations upon myself, when it doesn't happen the way I expect it to, now I feel like I'm failing. Now I feel like I'm struggling, when honestly, I may be doing better than a lot of other people. Or I may be doing better than what the normal progression is, but because my progression isn't where I want it to be, now automatically I'm assuming I'm failing. So sometimes we put those unrealistic expectations on ourselves, and we have to stop doing that as well, because those unrealistic expectations put us in a mindset of having unrealistic goals. And when we start not to hit those goals, then we start to get discouraged, and we start to think that we're failing when really we're progressing in a normal rate. So back to the story. So finally started getting better at the lines. Then I had to start doing like my vertical, horizontal test and overhead test. And that was, the horizontal and the vertical were pretty good, but that overhead test was killing me. It was kicking my butt, because I just could not, for whatever reason, I just could not weld the overhead position. And it just kind of got to a point where, again, I allowed my frustrations, I allowed my setbacks, I allowed my expectations to get the best of me, and I just gave up. I let it go, and it was something that I enjoyed doing. Now, honestly, would it have been a job that I would have enjoyed doing? Who knows? I'll never know, because I didn't give myself the opportunity to really find out if that could be a job for me, because the frustration was setting in so much with that, because I wasn't reaching my goals in my head, because it was just so unrealistic. But again, at the time, I didn't know it was unrealistic. I was thinking, okay, for the most part of my life, I've been able to just come into something without any experience, without any knowledge. You show me, I can pretty much do it. After a while, after getting my hands on it and being able to mess around with it for a little bit, a couple of days, kind of get the concept. I think that welding was one of the first times when I came into something, got my hands on it, and I just couldn't figure it out within like the first couple of days. And I think that if I would have had the mindset then that I have now, I would have taken a step back, realized, okay, this isn't going to be one of those. Let me reset my expectations and go into it and just start asking questions. And I think for me, again, having the mindset that I have now, I would have asked other people. I would have taken my pride out of it and asked other people, hey, what helped you in the beginning? I would have asked some people who were more towards the closer to graduating, hey, what helped you in the beginning? Like, what tricks, what tips could you give me to help me get this down? Or just have them come look at my beads on my plate and ask and assess what it is that I'm doing or not doing to help me be better. Because I'm realizing, like, there's nothing wrong with leaning on other people, asking other people what they see. Sometimes you need that fresh set of eyes to see something that you're not seeing, because they're looking at it from a different angle or coming from a different perspective than you are, because they may have seen it enough times to where, oh, that looked like how mine was, and what I learned was this. And one of the things that I would have learned was, you're moving too fast, because I'm a very impatient person. And so sometimes with things like welding, things that take a little time, you need to be slower with. I struggle with that because I'm very impatient, and that's something that I'm trying to work on to try to perfect whatever it is that I'm doing. So even with a podcast, even with this, it's like I want to rush to be perfect. I want every episode to be perfect. I want every episode to come out on time and do what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's like, okay, At some point, you'll get there. Right now, you're still learning. I'm still learning everything. Everything is new and everything is fresh for me. I've probably only been doing this podcasting thing for the moment of recording this, probably a week, 2 weeks, of really just taking podcasting seriously and really trying to put solid episodes together. So even with that, I was expecting everything to kind of come to me, to be able to watch a video or two and feel and feel natural with talking and putting things out there. And I'm getting there, but I'm not where I want to be. But because of everything that I've been through and the lessons that I'm finally starting to learn, I've banged my head enough times to where I'm finally starting to learn lessons. And what I'm starting to learn is, okay, it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay that it's not a finished product, but just start. I have to start somewhere and finish what I start. So even if things aren't going the way I want them to go, I'm not going to give up on this, because this is something that I believe in. This is something that I feel I can do. I feel like this is the lane that I need to be in. I just have to take the time to really figure the lane out, really figure out where I am, where I want to be. And once I get my foundation and I start to build my lane the way I want it to be and where I should be, it'll be smoother sailings. But right now, I'm just out here on the highway in the middle of the road, not really knowing what I'm doing, but I'm learning, and I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to ask, and I'm willing to get tips and information from any and every resource that I can. So obviously that's something that I learned along the way, is that you gotta be willing to ask for help. You gotta be willing to accept that hand that's extended to you to help lift you up, because you're not going to be able to do everything by yourself. You're going to need help along the way at some point. Somebody who knows things, somebody who has resources that you don't have, whatever the case may be. So that can also help with the whole not giving up thing, is just realizing that once you start to find people who are willing to help you, who are willing to guide you, who are willing to show you things, and you don't have to do everything on your own, that'll help with not giving up. Because I feel like we give up, we limit our potential so much when we decide to give up, or we decide, okay, this is too hard for me. And honestly, it's probably not too hard for you. It's just you weren't willing to put the work in, or you thought it was going to be easier than what it is. So now you have to reassess. You have to take a step back and really just rethink your approach to things, because you might be like me. Okay, for most of my life, I've been able to get by with minimal effort. I've been able to put in the smallest amount of work and get some of the best results. That's how I was in friendships. That's how I was in relationships. And, now that we're older, it doesn't work that way. It catches up to you, and it's like you can't put in that minimum amount of work and expect everything to be roses. You can't just put in that 20% all the time and expect 100% back. It just doesn't work like that. And as you start to get older, you start to realize that, because you wouldn't want anybody putting in 20%, giving you 20%, but expecting you to give 100%. So once you start to get older, you start to realize, okay, things take a lot more effort than I was willing to put in. So I can't get mad that they don't work. But also, it doesn't mean that you should give up on it. It just means you have to find out why you weren't willing to give that extra 80%. Try to unlock whatever that is that's stopping you from giving that 80%. Figure it out so that you can give it, because I want to stop giving up on myself and stop giving up on the things that I want to, stop giving up on my potential, because I realize that I have to believe in myself before anybody else will believe in me. I may have some of the best ideas. I may have some of the best advice. My podcast could potentially be one of the best out there. But if I don't believe in it, and if I don't put the work in, and if I don't do what I need to do to hit those marks or hit those goals or to achieve the things that I want to achieve, how can I expect someone else to believe in me? How can I expect someone else to invest in me when I'm not investing in myself? How can I expect someone to trust my vision or to see my vision when I'm not doing the same thing? So, man, so that's why I say giving up on yourself, or giving up period, just becomes so addictive. It becomes the norm, and you get so used to, okay, times is hard, I'm finna give up. You get so used to that just becomes your default thing. And it became my default for the longest time. And I would just come up with excuses like, man, I left this job because of this, I left this job because of that. And it was like, no, I'm leaving these jobs because they're asking me to work harder than I want to. And I had to be honest with myself. I had to look myself in the mirror and have an honest assessment of what's going on with me. And once I really started doing that, it was just like, okay, yeah, now I got to start kicking myself in the butt, because now when I was getting mad at other people for pointing out things that I just didn't want to hear, things that I just didn't want to see, but deep down I knew it was the truth, because when I would get through arguing with them and I would get back home and I'm just by myself, and I'm just like, yeah, they right. Yeah, I shouldn't have left. Yeah, I shouldn't have quit. I should have kept that job. That was a good job. I just didn't want to work as hard as I needed to, or put in as much work as I needed to make the job work. It was on me, being lazy. So I say all of that to say, stop giving up on yourself. It is so important to go after your goals, go after your dreams, go after whatever you're passionate about. Keep pursuing it. Like, you're going to have tough times. You're going to fail. You're going to fall. You're going to trip. You're going to stumble. You're going to hit obstacles. You're going to hit walls where you don't feel like doing it. You don't feel like you're making an impact. You don't feel like whatever it is that you're trying to do, you don't feel like you're doing it. You don't feel like you're doing enough. Whatever the case is, just keep going through all of that. Fight through all of that. Fight through the tough times. Fight through the doubts. Fight through the haters. Fight through the non-believers, because you're going to get those too. You're not just going to get doubt from yourself. You're going to get doubt from the people around you. And that's just them putting their limitations on you. So don't allow those limitations to stick just because they believe that they couldn't do it, or they believe that you're trying to attempt something that they couldn't do or they couldn't pull off. Doesn't mean that you can't pull it off. So also, to that point, be careful about who you tell your goals and who you tell your dreams to, because you just never know what type of spirit they may have on them. And it could be some of the closest people to you that are putting these doubts in your head, or putting these fears in your head. And I get it, going for something new, something you've never done before. I'm talking from experience. It's probably one of the scariest things that I've ever done, is recording these podcasts or recording these short videos and putting them out on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. It's the scariest thing that I've ever done, because this isn't what I'm used to. This is something so new and so fresh to me. And of course, I think anybody's biggest fear is failing. So, man, but you can't worry about that. You don't go into any situation assuming that you're going to fail, or even thinking about failure. Just think about the things that you do well, and try to put those things into whatever it is that you're doing, and focus more so on the things that you do well, the things that you're doing right. But also listen to people when they say, hey, you can get better at this, because there's a difference between constructive criticism and people just trying to tear you down. And you got to learn the difference between the two, because there are people out there who do want to see you succeed, and they may listen to whatever, or see you doing something, and they just want to come over and say, hey, there's a better way to do this, or hey, I see you're lacking in this area. Hey, you might want to read up on this if you want to go into this, whatever the case may be. And there's nothing wrong with that, because they may be doing what you're doing on a level that you want to get to or a level you want to pass. So there's nothing wrong with asking people, hey, how did you go from this level to this level? And so you just got to learn how to differ between the two. The people who are just genuinely trying to give you critique to help you build yourself up, and the people who just want to tear you down. They're not looking to help you. They're not looking to see you get better. The only thing that they're doing is just trying to tear you down. That's their only intentions of saying anything to you, is just to tear you down. So, man, just to wrap everything up, man, I feel like you believing in yourself is the number one thing. So before you start anything, you have to believe in yourself, because, man, that makes a world of difference. When you go into something actually believing, I can do this, I can make this happen. Yeah, and it's great to have a team with you, but you have to believe in your vision first. Before you bring any of your family members, any of your friends in, you got to believe in you. You got to believe in your goal. So, write your goal down, man, and focus in on your goal. Lock in on whatever it is that you're trying to do, and believe in it yourself 100%. So that way, when you start it and you may hit a rocky road, it's like your initial thought isn't to give up. It's like, okay, I expected some problems. I expected some things to happen. But yeah, so believing in yourself is the number one thing, and stay locked in through the tough times, because us being real with ourselves, tough times are going to happen. They're going to come no matter what it is that you're trying to do, no matter how good you may be at what you do. Tough times are going to happen. When you look at anybody's journey, they're going to talk about the tough times. So no matter what happens, no matter what you're trying to do, there are going to be tough times, but you got to lock in, stay focused through those tough times, because they're not going to last. So don't let them break you. And then for me, just do it. That would be my last little piece of advice. Would just do it. Whatever it is, like people kept telling me, like, what you waiting on, man? I would love to hear the podcast. I would love to hear these conversations. I would love to hear you speak on this topic, that topic. So just do it. Once you've believed in yourself, once you start believing in yourself, you got a game plan together and you're ready to lock in. Just go for it. Don't second guess it. Nothing. Just once you locked in, just go for it. So that's it for today's episode. Wherever you're listening to the podcast, please leave a review for me. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please comment, like, and subscribe, and let me know how you feel about the podcast.